Discover a new, in-depth approach to book coverage with this extended summary. Unlike our previous review, which offers a focused analysis, this feature delivers a comprehensive overview tracing the intellectual roots, key arguments, and real-world impact of this subject. If you appreciate this expanded format and find it helpful, let us know. Your feedback will help shape future content.
It's certainly a brave new world for how we consume information.
It is. But before we get into the weeds of today's book, I want to try a little experiment. Just visualize your morning routine. You wake up, you grab your phone, you start scrolling.
We all do it.
Right. And you see a headline. Maybe it's a politician saying something completely unhinged, or a beloved company doing something morally bankrupt. You feel that heat rise in your chest, that immediate, visceral snap of anger.
That rush of righteous indignation is a powerful drug.
It is. You share it. You text your group chat. Can you believe this? Now, here's the cold water. What if I told you that entire story was likely fake?
And not just incorrect.
No, I mean manufactured.
Yeah.
Engineered in a lab, essentially, by someone sitting in a trendy office, sipping an espresso, getting paid a massive salary specifically to pull your strings and make you dance.
That's a disquieting thought, but as we're about to find out, it's pretty much the operating system of the modern internet.
You are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper, more dynamic book summaries. And honestly, the book we're covering today feels less like a business book and more like a confession from a supervillain.
That's a good way to put it.
We're doing a deep dive into Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator by Ryan Holiday.
This book is such a fascinating artifact. It dropped in 2012, which in internet years might as well be the Stone Age.
Right.
And yet, reading it today feels like reading a prophecy. It just explains the mechanics of the chaos we're all living through right now.
That's what struck me. It's not theoretical. Ryan Holiday isn't some academic guessing how the media works. He was the guy in the engine room.
Oh, he was in the trenches. At the time he wrote this, Holiday was the director of marketing for American Apparel, a brand that basically monetized controversy.
Yeah.
And he was the strategist for Tucker Max.
Who was the internet's public enemy #1 for a long time.
For a very long time. Holiday defines himself explicitly as a media manipulator.
The title says it all. Trust me, I'm lying. He's just opening the kimono and saying, here's how I broke the news media, here's how I made millions doing it, and here's why it was so incredibly easy to fool you.
And he organizes this confession into two very distinct parts. He calls the first section Book Number 1, Feeding the Monster. This is the manual. If you wanted to destroy a reputation or pump a stock today, this is the step-by-step guide on how he did it.
So let's talk about this monster. What exactly is he feeding?
He's feeding the page view economy. Understand Holiday's tactics. You have to understand the economic reality of the web in that era, which, well, it still lingers today.
Oh.
Online outlets, specifically blogs, they moved away from the subscription model.
Yeah.
They don't make money because you trust them. They make money because you click them.
The ad impression model.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if a story is meticulously researched, nuanced, and accurate, but boring, it makes $0. If a story is wild, infuriating, and completely unverified, it goes viral and it pays the bills.
This brings us to tactic #1, which Holiday states with just brutal simplicity, bloggers are poor.
It sounds like an insult, but it's an economic leverage point. Holiday realized that the people writing the news online are not Woodward and Bernstein.
No.
They're often young, underpaid freelancers. They're paid per post or based on traffic bonuses. They have quotas, sometimes 10, 12 posts a day.
That's an insane amount of writing. There's literally no time to pick up a phone and call a source.
That is the vulnerability.
Oh.
They're starved for content. So
Yeah.
Holiday says, hobby their chef. He realized that if you hand a scoop to a broke, exhausted blogger on a silver platter, they aren't going to interrogate it.
They're just going to publish it.
They're going to publish it because it solves their immediate problem. They need something to post right now.
So he turns their desperation into his distribution channel. And that leads to the engine of this entire scheme, a strategy he calls trading up the chain.
This is the most important concept in the book. It's how you turn a lie into national news.
I want to walk through this slowly because once you understand this mechanism, you can never look at the news the same way again. It starts at the bottom.
It starts in the sewers, basically. You want a story on CNN or in the New York Times, you can't pitch them directly. They still have fact checkers.
Okay.
So you plant the story on a tiny niche blog, a site with zero editorial standards, maybe a few hundred readers.
Okay.
You create a fake email, send a tip, maybe forge a document.
So a blog with 50 readers posts a lie. Who cares?
The mid-tier blogs care. That's step 2. You take the link from that tiny blog and you email a bigger site, something like a Gawker or a BuzzFeed or a mid-level tech site. You say, hey, look at this breaking story that's bubbling up.
And because it has a link, it looks legitimate. It's not just an email anymore. It's a published report.
It provides social proof. The mid-tier blog runs it because they don't want to miss out on the trend. Then the aggregators pick it up. And finally, the mainstream media sees it trending on Twitter or Reddit. They see all these blogs discussing it.
And they assume, well, if everyone is talking about it, it must be true.
Or at least, if everyone's talking about it, we have to talk about it. The New York Times runs the story, citing the blogs. The blogs then update their posts to cite the New York Times. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop of validation.
It's basically money laundering, but for information. You wash the dirty lie through a series of increasingly respectable outlets until it comes out looking clean.
That is a perfect analogy. By the time it hits the cable news chyron, nobody remembers that the original source was a fake email sent by Ryan Holiday at 2 in the morning.
Speaking of 2 in the morning, we have to talk about the Tucker Max movie stunt. This is the part of the book where the storytelling really shines, and it shows just how hands-on Holiday was.
The billboard incident. This is a classic pseudo-event.
Right. So Tucker Max, this frat boy author type, had a movie coming out. The problem was nobody in the media wanted to cover it because they hated him. The studio's panicking. They need press. So Holiday decides to manufacture a hate crime against his own client.
He goes out in the dead of night in Los Angeles.
He's got a hoodie on, spray paint. He goes to a billboard for the movie, a billboard they paid for, and he vandalizes it. He defaces it with some crude, angry graffiti.
But the vandalism isn't the point. A defaced billboard is just property damage. It only becomes news if someone sees it.
Exactly. So he takes photos of his own handiwork. He goes home, creates a fake email account, something like Angry Citizen 123, and blasts these photos to every local LA blog he can find.
And he writes this email acting like a pearl-clutching resident, saying, can you believe this? People are finally fighting back against this misogynist. Look what happened.
And the blogs just swallow it whole, has everything they need, a striking visual, a local angle, conflict. They run the photos with headlines like, outrage against Tucker Max movie.
And then he trades it up the chain. He sends those blog links to national entertainment sites. Suddenly, the narrative isn't Tucker Max has a movie. The narrative is there is a massive cultural backlash against Tucker Max.
Which is infinitely more interesting to write about. The movie got millions of dollars in free publicity, and the reality, there was no backlash. There were no angry citizens.
Just Ryan Holiday with a spray can and a laptop manipulating the entire system.
It's brilliant, but it's also terrifying. It shows you don't need a movement to create a controversy. You just need a narrative that fits what the media wants to sell.
And that leads to tactic number 5. Sell them something they can sell. Holiday realized that blogs have a one-off problem.
Right, they're beasts that need to be said daily.
If you give them one story, that solves their problem for an hour. But if you want to dominate the news cycle, you need to solve their problem for the whole week.
So he's playing 4D chess while the bloggers are playing checkers.
Absolutely. He wouldn't just plant the vandalism story. He would already have the next 3 steps planned. He'd release a statement from Tucker Max condemning the vandalism. Then he'd create a fake boycott group to attack the statement.
He creates both sides of the argument.
He provides the action and the reaction. He turns a single lie into a week-long soap opera, and the blogs love him for it because he is generating endless content for them.
But sometimes you don't even need the billboard. Sometimes you rely on tactic number 9, just make stuff up.
This is where the book gets darker. Holiday admits that the speed of the internet has destroyed the verification process. He talks about forging internal memos, leaking fake emails from corporate executives.
He says it pretty bluntly, nobody checks facts until the story is already viral.
And that is the key. By the time a journalist actually calls the company and finds out the memo is a fake, the story has been shared 50,000 times. The traffic has been harvested, the money has been made.
And as he points out, the correction, the article that says, actually this was false, that never goes viral.
Never. The lie travels around the world while the truth is still tying its shoes. The correction is a footnote that nobody reads.
It really makes you question everything you read on a screen. We are going to shift gears in a moment and talk about the fallout of all this, because it's not just about selling movies. Real people get hurt.
The consequences are severe.
But before we go into the darkness, we wanted to mention something that can actually help you navigate this mess. If you're enjoying this deep dive and want to sharpen your critical thinking skills, you really need to check out the Mindful Moments YouTube channel.
It's our YouTube channel offering AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques.
It is a vital resource. In an age of misinformation, having a place that focuses on inspiring reflection and rational thought is crucial.
And for the aspiring authors out there, seeing how books are deconstructed can be incredibly valuable for your own writing.
Absolutely. So go check out Mindful Moments, subscribe, and nourish your mind on the go. Now, let's get back to the book. We've talked about feeding the monster. Now we have to talk about book number 2, The Monster Attacks.
And the tone of the book shifts dramatically here. The fun anecdotes about pranks just disappear. Holiday starts to show us the blood on the floor. He describes the creation of an unreality, a world where narrative and speed matter more than facts.
He uses a specific case study that's really hard to listen to, the story of Iron Carmen.
This is the perfect example of the toxic cycle of blogging. Iron Carmen was a young reporter who wrote a piece critical of The Daily Show and Jon Stewart. She argued they had a diversity problem in their hiring.
A legitimate journalistic inquiry.
Theoretically. But the internet didn't treat it as a discussion, they treated it as a target. Holiday explains how the blogosphere took her article, stripped away all the nuance, isolated a few quotes, and just turned her into a cartoon villain.
He calls this the 21st century degradation ceremony.
That's a sociological term. A degradation ceremony is a public ritual intended to lower a person's status within a group. It's a shaming ritual.
In the village square, they threw rotten vegetables.
On the internet, they throw think pieces and nasty comments. And the blogs aren't doing this because they care about Jon Stewart. They're doing it because woman attacked by internet gets clicks.
They're machines for public punishment.
That's it. And the scary part is, once the machine turns on you, you cannot stop it. This is where iterative journalism comes in.
This is the philosophy of publish first, fix it later.
Right. A blog hears a damaging rumor about you. In the old days, a newspaper would spend weeks verifying it. Today, the blog publishes it immediately with a headline like, "Is host speaker a thief?"
And if it turns out I'm not?
They just add a seemingly innocent update at the bottom of the post. Update! Host speaker is not a thief. But the damage is done. The link has been shared. The headline has been absorbed by millions of people who will never see the update.
It creates a permanent record of a half-truth. And if you try to fight it, you run into the link economy problem.
This is the circular nightmare of online sourcing. You read a shocking article, it says, "Sources confirm." And there's a hyperlink. Being a diligent reader, you click that link.
And it takes you to another blog post that says, reports indicate, and links to a third site.
And you follow the rabbit hole until you realize the bottom of the chain is just one anonymous, unverified comment on a message board. Or worse, the blogs are just citing each other in a circle.
It's an illusion of consensus. It looks like 5 different major news outlets have confirmed the story, but in reality, one person made it up and 5 outlets copy-pasted it.
It's a house of cards built on hyperlinks. And Holiday makes sure to mention the Manipulator Hall of Fame. He wants to be clear. He is not the only one doing this. Political operatives, corporate PR firms, government agencies, they all use these exact same tactics.
It's not just about lying, though. It's about the attitude we've all adopted. He talks a lot about snark.
The dark side of snark. We think of snark as just being witty or sarcastic. But Holiday argues it's a mechanism of dehumanization. Snark allows us to treat the subjects of news stories, real human beings, as content.
It turns empathy off. If we can laugh at them, we don't have to feel bad about destroying their lives.
Precisely. And this pairs with another tactic he calls cute but evil. This is the weaponization of fluff.
Wait, how are cat videos and memes evil?
Well, they aren't evil in isolation. But look at how they're used. A site will show you 10 gifs of puppies falling over, and then immediately serve you a brutal political hit piece. The cute content disarms you. It puts your brain into a passive entertainment-seeking mode.
You lower your defenses.
You do. You aren't thinking critically, you're just reacting. Aw, cute puppy. Our bad politician. It normalizes an addiction to shallow emotional information.
We become clicking monkeys, just hammering the dopamine button.
Sadly, yes. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable part of the book. The part where he turns the mirror on us, cheering on our own deception.
This is the hard pill to swallow. We can blame Ryan Holiday. We can blame the greedy bloggers. But who is clicking the links?
We are. The system only exists because it works on us. Every time we click on a rage bait headline, every time we share a story without checking if it's true, we are paying the salary of the manipulator.
We are telling the algorithm, more of this, please.
We claim we want the truth. We claim we want serious journalism.
Hmm.
But our browsing history tells a different story. We reward the lies because the lies are more entertaining.
So what do? Holiday gives us this user manual for the weapon he built. Does he tell us how to disarm it?
He offers some advice on how to read a blog.
Be skeptical.
Extreme skepticism. He says you must check the source chain, don't trust the headline, click the links, do they go anywhere real? And most importantly, analyze the incentives. If a story is making you incredibly emotional, stop and ask. Who benefits from you feeling this way?
Someone is monetizing your anger.
Always. Understand that in the free media economy, you are not the customer. You are the product. Your attention is what's being sold to advertisers.
But does he offer a solution, a way to fix the internet?
No. And that is perhaps the most honest and depressing part of the book. There's no happy ending here. He explicitly states that the monster is still hungry.
The book came out in 2012. If anything, it's gotten worse.
Much worse. The algorithms are smarter, the incentives are more entrenched, and the speed is faster. The dynamics he described have only accelerated.
That is heavy. But I think there is power in knowing.
Awareness is the only defense. Once you see the strings, once you understand trading up the chain, it's much harder for them to make you dance. You start to see the matrix.
You do. You start noticing when a national controversy is actually just 3 tweets that got aggregated by a blog.
You start to realize that your own outrage is often a manufactured product.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We've talked about how manipulators plant stories to sell books or movies. But think about the last time you changed your opinion on a major issue. Politics, health, culture.
Ask yourself deeply, did you change your mind because of irrefutable facts? Or did you change your mind because a carefully constructed narrative was traded up the chain until it felt like the consensus?
The next time you feel that snap of outrage at a headline, ask yourself, who paid for this emotion?
It's the most important question you can ask.
We hope this deep dive has given you some new armor to wear while you navigate the chaos online. If you want to go even deeper, click the link on screen for the in-depth book critique. Subscribe, share, and if you want to see the evidence for yourself, purchase the book via the link. Most importantly, think rationally.
Don't feed the monster.
See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.